go
I
live.
thought I was ready.
Right as I hit live, your camera starts doing
him.
this.
He's going live. David Wood is absolutely ready for episode 600 of the Dead Robot Society. We're glad that his mic is working, that his camera isn't just going berserk. Now he's.
I like being the center of attention, so I had to jack my camera up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 600 of the Dead Robot Society. Who would have ever figured that we would be here today? I mean, isn't there some group that would take us off the air? I mean, really, how did we get here?
No one wants to touch you.
Nobody wants to touch that with a. What's going on, Paul? That's where you're supposed to respond.
I'm sorry. For some reason, Discord was playing YouTube, so I was getting content 5 seconds behind, and everything was like, I was like, "What the hell is going on?" God damn it!
I'm so glad that everybody is ready for this show.
This is all David's fault. This is all David's fault. He gets on, he flips us the finger, and his audio doesn't work. That's how this today started.
That was my tribute to Macumber. Since he couldn't be here, somebody's got to do what Macumber would do. So basically, he'll be flipping you off, and he'll be calling you guys really disgusting sexual names. So, Justin, I'm carrying the torch for you, buddy.
Well, if you're actually going to go ahead and go that route, isn't there something involved with pulling up your shirt and rubbing your nipple or something rude like that?
I'm not doing that.
I was saving that for we need to get 50 people in the stream, and then I'll start getting naked. I'll show you my office-themed tattoo if I can figure out where my camera is. That's Basketball Stanley. So if anybody watches The Office,
okay,
that's my latest tat.
That you're a dedicated fan. Then you were definitely a dedicated fan. Justin
and
too.
The best part, they while I was getting the tat, they had The Office on the big TV, and it was the episode where a character gets a tattoo. It was the weirdest thing.
Synchronicity.
If you were going to get, having had a tattoo, I'm not going to ask you, David. I was going to say, Paul, if you get a tattoo, what would you get?
I'm sorry. I'm staring at these comments and I'm terrified. I would get a tattoo of the Garaga sigil. And I would have it done. I'd have it done in cuneiform.
You could get a Japanese or a Chinese hieroglyph that you just don't understand. It actually says pork chop, no matter what you think it says. That's just what it is.
Well, there's that one, and then there's the Phoenix one I described in tattoo. I'd like to get that one as well. But they were kind of competing things, so I don't know how that would work. That's what I'd be interested in doing.
Veronica's got the right statement there. It's been a while.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, who wants the harmony and who wants the low part of that one?
We're not doing that. We're not doing that shit. We're not doing that.
We actually went to a concert the other day. First time in 2 years we actually went to a show. It was Stained and Korn and I really liked, and I've forgotten their name already. But it was fun.
Some band
to do something normal.
Yeah, I'm supposed to go see, I don't know, like concerts even going to happen anymore. I'm supposed to see Gary Newman next week, and then October we've got Ministry to go to, as well as the Primus tribute to Rush. So
I get Gary Newman confused with the guy who did the soundtrack songs, like the Toy Story song. That's Randy Newman, right?
That's Randy Newman, yeah. Don't get those two confused. Now I'm hearing how Gary Newman would do I Love LA, and it's just not working for me.
Is that like getting Jimmy Buffett mixed up with the guy that does all the investments?
Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett. Yeah, they're about as compatible. You hear that sound? That's the sound of freshly brewed corpse coffee. That's what that is. See, it's now empty of all that dark, vaporous goodness. Vaporous?
I think you need a bigger one of those, because that doesn't seem like enough coffee for you. You need one that's so large that you have to throw yourself on top of the little ball to press it down, because you need that much weight.
Somebody's like, why don't you just get a swimming pool of that shit? I'm like, I want Paul flavored coffee. Oh, no. No.
I actually do not want Paul flavored coffee.
Nobody wants Paul flavored coffee. Oh, which one does this? This is the bone shaker. The Bone Shaker. Is it Bone Shaker?
That's the dark one?
Bone Shaker. Yeah. I get the dark roast.
Well, folks,
Jimmy Buffett's investment plan consists solely of cheeseburgers and margaritas. I see this.
I totally think that's a valid statement.
And boat rides.
If you're on Twitter,
sailing around the Keys with your margaritas and your burgers, yeah.
If you're on Twitter, you need to look up Falconry Finance. It is one of the most ridiculous Twitter accounts of all time. The guy must be in the financial industry because everything is comparing investments in Arabian hunting falcons, what a sound investment they are, how they mature over time. He's even got Foul Coin and Fail Coin, where they've already got the crypto coins going, and Foul Coin shorts Fail Coin. So it's guaranteed money. It's always guaranteed that's one of the funds is always making money. It's ridiculous. So yeah, if you're into that, go look at it. It's just awesome. Excellent satire. Lampoonery. Love it. Terry, you were going to ask a question.
Well, I wasn't. I was just going to make the comment that here we are at episode 600. Even though I came in at episode 50-something, I can't imagine having been podcasting something consistently for 12 years now. It's ridiculous.
That's around the time I started listening. Maybe I started right before you started even, but yeah, it's been a long freaking time.
Can y'all hear that?
Yes.
Something. But yeah, I don't know what it is. What is it?
Yeah, it's the Closet Treats ice cream truck. Anyway, sorry, continue. Different tubes, same fucking creepy truck.
It's just crazy to imagine that we're still going at this, even though just about literally everybody that was a host when I started is gone one way or the other. They've stopped writing, they've moved on, or they've passed on. And somehow we're still doing this. I guess that says something about the show. Not us.
Nothing else to do with your life.
We're just really, boring. We feel like talking to each other.
It's the only way I have friends to speak to me is when I do a podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty much. It's just something like, okay, if I tie a pork chop around my neck, will you talk to me for a while? You know how you have to.
Yeah, I live out in the middle of nowhere, and so this weekend I'm volunteering at the Ren Fair. I do that every year. I have one buddy I have a beer with once a month, and other than that, it's chatting online with author friends, and that's my social life, and of course family. But that's mostly because I hate people.
You and Terry are like the same person but different.
That's actually truer than you know.
Other than that,
he's handsome.
I'm not good looking like Terry.
You need to have your eyes replaced, Bubba. You need to have your eyes replaced.
Have you thought about getting contacts? Because something's obviously wrong with your vision.
My LASIK must have gone bad on me, yeah.
It spoils.
Compared to me, he's a good-looking dude. That must be it, yeah.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Dean, on both counts. We try and do a good job. We try and be fun. This is really kind of turned into talk show centered around fandom with fiction, movies, and then talking technical writing, having guests on to talk specific things. Today I dropped the interview with Dan Sawyer regarding the Heinlein Juveniles textbook that he's pretty much put together. I'd call it a textbook, wouldn't you, Terry?
It's definitely a weighty tome. That's true. It really digs into the Heinlein stuff in more detail than I expected that it would.
But as you'll see, if you listen to or review the YouTube video, there's a lot of stuff to unpack there as far as the hero's journey versus the heroine's journey versus Billa Drum. I still can't say that name. The Billa Drumsman's some German word for it, and
some German word. Thanks for clarifying.
Some German word, and the Horatio Alger stuff. I mean, it really kind of puts it in perspective. Of course, as somebody with a literature degree, I'm like, oh, this is just wonderful to look at. It's an interesting teardown. I don't agree with all of it, but I don't have to. It's just an excellent analysis, and it's kind of fun. It's got some real. There you go, Bildungsroman. Yeah, I don't know how you say that. Bildungsroman. Dan knew how to say it correctly, so watch the episode, listen to the episode. It's interesting. So yeah, check out his Kickstarter, especially if you got youngins.
When I was working on a Matic book, I stumbled across a German word that translates to ass violin. And so I had to use that one because one of my characters calls people ass clown, ass hat, things like that. So I had a German character call him that, and when he finds out what it means, he's like, "That's awesome!" Great word. I think it was like Arschgig or something like that.
That totally sounds like something Bones would do.
Yes, he has absorbed that one into his.
Memorize the same relative curse word in different dialects and different languages. Just that one, not any others. Just that one, just so it's interchangeable, like 75 times, like that.
Well, the show has changed a lot since we started this. When Justin started it, it was really talking about things at the fine level of detail of writing. And as we've gotten further, just like writers, we've kind of expanded out. We're not focused in on the details. Now we're focused on the broader creative picture. So I guess the show has changed as we've changed.
I feel like I remember it being focused toward traditional publishing.
There was some of
that. Some of that,
I was
maybe the indie revolution hadn't really happened that much. Yeah, you were writing erotica and doing well, but yeah, the landscape was radically different.
What was the Wild Wild West? The independent stuff was the Wild Wild West, and we knew it was going to become something. We just didn't know how long it was going to take. I mean, I saw that coming back when I was in college, and actually tried to make it happen on BBSs, which not enough people had computers back then to do that. But it was fascinating to see that, and it was just like, man, if only we had a device. And then Amazon happened, and I'm like, God damn it! And then here we are with all the crazy that's going on, and then we're seeing kind of another shift now. It was kind of tepid agreement. People weren't sure about ebooks. Then KDP happened and everybody was making money. And then Amazon started fucking us more and keep fucking us and changing the rules every 5 minutes. And now everybody's like, well, how do we get away from this evil monopoly? But that's where all the people are. How the fuck do we get away from this? And then we've had the constant slow motion collapse of the traditional publishing industry on top of it.
Are they really collapsing though?
I don't know.
Because I'm not sure that they make money where we think they make money. They basically, sit on this intellectual property and use it for tax write-offs for ridiculous sums of money.
Let's put it this way. The way they're paying their mid-list, you'd think they were bankrupt. Will that cover it?
Maybe so. I heard something interesting talking about the paper shortage that's coming up because, for example, oh God, who is it that's doing the paperback and hardback books? Ingram sent out a notice to everybody that they're jacking their prices up.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard from reading a blog from Christine Catherine Rush, where she was talking about a number of places that have talked about what's happening with their print runs. Their traditional publishing is not doing reprints because they can't anymore. They can't schedule them. They can't get the paper. The costs are going through the roof. So people, even when a book is a big hit, is only going to get this little teeny run of whatever their initial thing that they scheduled months and months in advance. And the prices are going to go up some ridiculous amount in traditional publishing. And I'm wondering how much that's going to drive the remaining paper people into ebooks.
Yeah. Well, I have noticed that the pricing structure on Ingram Spark, for example, is not what it once was. I had to go back and change a lot of our books, or maybe it was Lightning Source. I have both accounts still, but yeah, I feel like even within print on demand, it's getting more and more difficult to have an expanded distribution with any kind of reasonable pricing model at all, especially for somebody like me who writes a lot of novellas and short, pulpy novels. It's tough to make it a decent price for paper.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to seeing how much Trident is going to sell for at this point.
I've considered pulling my print stuff out of expanded distribution and just dealing with, you want to buy it, you're going to have to go to Amazon.
I haven't had anything in general distribution that's set up through Ingram, Spark, or whatever. I've always used a third party for that crap, like Amazon or whomever. I've always done it that way for the print
Amazon,
stuff.
you can have expanded distribution with it. And I've been doing expanded distribution through Amazon, but that necessitates a significantly higher price. And so,
yeah, you can't do it independently. You have to jack up your U.S. retail price in order to make the expanded distro happen. And because I write shorter books, it rarely works out that I can give it a decent price.
To make any decent money, the last book that I published, we had to put the pricing up around $19. And
Are you serious?
And I'm like, that's a lot of money
for how many pages?
There was a pretty big book. It was a 120,000 word book, but still.
So
paper costs have gone up.
75. Yeah. There was one of the
expanded distribution means that they make it much more expensive. And so your base price, like David said, has to go up. And I priced it that way for that one book. And I'm like, I just don't know that I'm happy with that.
I saw a tweet from an independent bookstore saying essentially, don't get mad at us. Don't get mad at even the distribution chain or the books, whatever book store you go into. If they don't have your book, order now, because a lot of things have a 2 to 3 month backlog. And the big four, I've seen complaints by authors saying their release dates have been bumped back for their books up to a year. And of course, big four being the big four and the assholes that they are, those people aren't getting paid until the fucking book hits the shelf.
It's going to be hard for authors that are dealing with traditional these days. It's going to be really hard.
Yeah, I just, it's just going to be another change in the way things go. But, we said a long time ago, paper books are ultimately going to be for people who can afford them.
They're going to be a niche item.
They're going to be more large market, though. I mean,
yes, it is. Absolutely.
The trad pub authors don't make much per book, but they sell in huge volume. So
sadly, their volume is going down.
It's not going to the author.
It'll be interesting to see how this changes publishing over the next decade, because with the costs of having paperbacks going up or hardbacks going up, it is going to cause a shift in the audience going to ebooks. And when they discovered that the ebooks cost with traditional publishing $14.99, they might decide to start looking at us indies a little bit closer once they've made the shift to ebooks.
Okay. On that note, I have a question. I have been wondering if I'm charging too little for my books. Like, my full length tend to be 80,000. Sometimes they get closer to 100, and I'm charging like $4.99. Is that still in the realm for indie, or should it go higher?
I've seen some authors with a big audience charging $5.99, and when I see that, it doesn't cause me any heartburn. When you start getting above $5.99, you're going to $6.99, $7.99. You're going to have people start questioning it. But I think as high as $5.99 is probably fine, as long as you've got the audience to sustain it.
What do you guys think about pricing this series such that if I don't know, when you got 3 or 4 books out, you basically drop the first book in the series to like $2.99, even though it's normally like $5.99, and then do the second book at like $3.99 and the third book at $4.99. So basically, they don't feel like they're losing much going into the series if they don't like it.
I've done that on
different
occasion.
versions of that. Yeah. Right now, right now, my first Matic book is at $3.99. It would normally be a $4.99 or $5.99. And for a while, I had the first 2 at $3.99, and I decided just to go $4.99 for anything that's full length. And the ones that are short novel length are $3, and the novellas are $2.99. But my intro book is a little bit lower priced than the others.
And I'm doing the same thing David is.
Yeah. I'm disappointed that, Kindle a couple of years ago started letting us do a book 0, but you can't add it to your series section. It has to be a related title, because Alan Baxter and I did a novella prequel to our Jake Crowley Adventures series and listed it as book 0. But when you go in and you set up your series, you can't list book 0 as part of the series. It has to be listed as a related book. And that seems really silly to me.
Maybe you should make it 0.5.
I guess I don't understand why that would even be a problem for them. I don't know why they would have an issue with that.
And here and there
them being
are
jerks.
authors who have their book zero listed, but whenever you go to their customer service and they say, no, it's impossible, and you say, nope, it's not impossible, here's your link, they just say, sorry, we can't do that. That's
not terribly helpful.
Oh.
Yeah, they are not the friend they once were. I'll put it that way. They are not the friend they once were. They stopped being our friend years ago.
Yeah. I'm still wide. Are you guys wide, or are you exclusive at the moment?
I've been exclusive since I started doing my science fiction. And it was a bit of an experiment back then because I thought that I might not make as much money, but I built up a large Kindle Reads audience that now it's 66% of my readership revenue comes in through Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah. Well, then it would be foolish to change. Yeah.
So I just stick at this, and I'm probably, just begging for, something disastrous to happen in the future.
I have never made practically anything on KDP Unlimited. I have never made practically anything on it. Even with the Sever Press titles, the way they were, those all sold. Almost virtually all the money I made off those were from ebook sales. It wasn't actually for KDP Unlimited. I don't know if that was a marketing problem, since I have no visibility into any of that. I don't know why that was, and it may just be the fact that people that go to KDP Unlimited don't know who the fuck I am or are not interested. So
I think branding is definitely an issue that you have issues with, have problems with, but I'm not sure that I'm the expert to rebrand you.
I can't rebrand anymore. I'm done rebranding.
Yeah, we're
moving forward. God damn it. Yeah, now I'm just me. God, isn't that disappointing? Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck I write anymore, but all that's out the window.
Did you ever know what you write?
No. Well, I thought I did, but I was wrong. So there you go. I'm a suspense writer. Leave me alone.
You don't write to tropes anyway. So you just write to your own beat of your drum, and you just haven't found a way to communicate your strange, unique flavor to people that have the same thing going on in their lives.
Yeah.
I need to do some more cartoons. Remember those cartoons I did mocking his inability to stick to a trope or a genre? I need to make some more of those.
Look, you jackasses.
Even when he tries to go and hit a popular trope, he goes ahead and writes Space Marines that everybody complains to him. Those aren't Marines.
Fuck them. It's my universe.
You just stuck a name on them and you went ahead and ran with it. And it was like, I'm going to make these guys do whatever I want. That's Marinish. It's the future. Just suck it up, Buttercup.
The future is called evolution, man. If we stay the same stagnant way we are now, we are so fucked as a species. I mean, so fucked.
If you stayed the same with the way the Marines were, you might have actually found some audience that appreciated that kind of thing.
It wouldn't be my book.
It wouldn't be your book.
It would be somebody else's book.
If you're going to write and this is not a criticism of you, but if you're going to write to a trope, you actually have to follow the trope.
Fuck that tropes. They're only good for pirating, altering, and then throwing them into the treasure chest and letting no one see which ones you stole.
I believe you may have specified exactly now why you are not as successful as you would like to be.
Wow, what a dick.
What a dick move that was.
Now, in answer to your original question, when I get the rights to the black back and we re-release it, it will be wide. So I'm basically gonna, because I want all my options available, including selling from my site, doing whatever. I want to be able to sell bundles of the ebook and the audiobook, and I want to be able to have that versatility, not to mention the ability to at some point maybe kickstart a special edition of that puppy. But I want that to be wide because it has to be re-released. It was been a long time since that book came out, and it's had no marketing push since that one book, or the second book bub, I guess. It hasn't had any marketing at all. So I want to try again to make that work, maybe in first quarter next year, start the first book off. But I want to go wide with that. It just means I got to change how things are done to go wide with it.
Sean says, "Here's a good episode title for us right now. Fuck the tropes."
I think actually we have an episode like that, but we may need to revisit it.
I think he means the title for this episode.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, fuck the tropes.
Fuck the tropes and why Cooley is wrong.
Bullshit.
Gosh, we've got a lot of experience between us, David, trying to tell Justin why he's wrong and now trying to tell Paul why he's wrong.
I'm tired just thinking about it, man. It's been 15 years almost.
Hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. I don't want to write the same shit over and over again.
I
don't want to do it.
Me either.
And yet you do it.
I don't. I absolutely don't write the same things over and over. I just use the same techniques like he said. I'm writing different things.
I'm sorry, I can't show you, but right now there's an interesting belly flop moment that happened on top of the computer. Sorry, I'm being attacked by a shadow cat. He's decided that his warming blanket is warm enough now, so he's going to drape himself.
Dean says now we're at the pick on Paul part of the podcast.
Well, we knew it was coming because David Wood joined us.
It's been years. I got to catch up.
God. Has it really been years? I guess it has been a long time.
Veronica says, "What wrong stuff do you think actually turns out better than people think it should?" I'm not quite sure how to interpret the question. I'm not sure that I understand that.
I don't know if I'm on the right track, but I will say one of the things I've been trying to do in this pandemic time, because of, writing can be challenging anyway, and there's anxiety and insecurities and mental health issues with some of us. But I'm trying to remind myself that my readers just like a fun story, and maybe I'm overly harsh on myself. Sometimes I should do something just because it's an awesome idea. And so I've been trying to do that more. And so far, nobody's bitching about it, even if I think it might be a little bit silly or a little bit cliche. But I'm trying to lean into the things that I do differently, which the humor is one of the big things, and the banter and stuff like that. I'm like, quit criticizing myself for not being James Rollins and have a little more fun being who I am, because that's how I gain my audience to start with.
Yeah. Stick with what people want to read and you'll do better. And Veronica clarifies, what is it that we do that's, quote, wrong, end quote, by conventional wisdom, but works for you? And one of the things that you talked about there is one of the things that I ignored from the very beginning. And that's, you always read the article, when you come up with a solution to a problem, throw that one away and then throw the second one away and then go to the third one. Maybe that's the plot choice that you need to have. Bullshit. I just write whatever sounds fun and cool and just run with it.
Because you can't always, unless you're someone who's going to change a lot, and then that's why I've gotten more into outlining, because my research that I do in the process will often lead me to something better. But yeah, I do agree. You don't have to automatically assume that your second or third idea is better. Sometimes it's a mess.
Sometimes I have to throw away. Good.
Yeah. I would say adverbs. I've been using those a little bit more than I used to. Sometimes the adverb is what you need. You could show, not tell, but some of the things that are happening are so inconsequential that it's not really important to agonize over.
What are you staring at? What is that?
Get to the stuff the readers actually care about.
I think you may have, caused him a mental breakdown.
Yes, it's okay to use an adverb here and there. I've finally grown out of that anxiety.
I used to have a word macro that would search for adverbs, and then I said, screw that. I'm just going to write whatever words I want to, and nobody has complained one little bit.
He said, jizzingly.
Now, I still do check for adverbs and think about them, because sometimes those do present an opportunity for some better writing. But an awful lot of the time, it's all you really need. I think it depends on the sentence and what you're doing right there.
That may be a writer thing, because people in the real world, they use adverbs all the time. Why should we be different as a writer?
Because it makes me want to smash my head into a brick wall, and it's shitty writing. That's why. It's annoying as fucking hell. And if people go back and listen to themselves, like, God damn, I use that word way too much.
I've never said that in my life, ever.
Yeah, right.
No, seriously, I've never said that in my life ever.
Really? I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
I never look at what I'm saying and say, gosh, I'm overusing that adverb. No, that's not happening.
No, that's not happening either. When I was reading Derelict, I finished the audiobook or the recording for it. I'm still editing it. Yes, and there were thousands of hosannas. Holy shit. The fuck was I saying? I was finishing it and I came across an adverb and I went, ooh, let it go. Let it go. So, and while I was working on Station 3, I was like, an adverb would sound right here, but dare I do it? Dare I do it? Do I commit heresy? Do I commit heresy? Fuck it, I'll commit the heresy.
If you're thinking that hard about it, I think you're overthinking it.
There probably is, but the thing is that the adverbs were banged out of me really early in my career and through.
That's what she said.
Sorry. Oh, there we go. Thanks for bringing that in. That's a just in a moment.
And that was especially true because of my experience in academia. So, and to be honest, there's several books out there by authors that I enjoyed, but I also loathed them at the same time because there were like almost 2 adverbs in every sentence. And it just drove me spare. It's like that's adverb fucking abuse.
That's a lot of adverbs. I don't come close to using that many adverbs.
Or using one in every paragraph.
Sometimes you don't have to agonize. Every once in a while, trust your instincts and use the damn adverb if it feels like the right thing to do in that sentence. I lose a lot of time agonizing over things.
Yeah, and so do I. So what I'm trying to force myself to do now is go ahead and put the shit writing in, and that's what editing is for. Fuck it. And that was helping me get through 4,000 words a day. So, but still it goes also back and I look at it. I look at the sentence of the adverb and I eye it. I threaten myself. Are you really going to do that? So it just continues.
Yeah. And also I think, I hope that we hold ourselves to a much higher standard than our readers often do and are probably a lot more critical than we need to be, because I see people in my genre, I'll look at the samples and some of the stuff they're writing is objectively poor or objectively rule breaking, but people are buying it. They're reading it. They're leaving good reviews. So maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. Well, I already know that, but maybe some of these rules are not as big a deal as we make them out to be. I don't know. Obviously, if I were aiming for Trad Pub, there are a lot of things I would agonize over. But if I had an established audience, maybe I could lighten up on myself a little bit.
I think that maybe writers and editors are more hard on this than readers are.
There's a "that's what she said" joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going to parse it. Go ahead.
Sure. I believe that in the general reader population is a lot more concerned with things like typos and noticeably poor sentence structure and things like that. If somebody doesn't have the experience to put the words in there to make it so that it's smooth reading, then you're going to have reader complaints about the quality of the work. But once you get beyond that, it becomes a matter of taste.
Yes. Yeah. There are rules I will break. I will have a character thinking about something while being in the midst of a conversation with somebody else and have the two things just overlayered on top of one another. It's going to sound really badass in audio, but it could be a little confusing in print, but it's the way it has to be done. And it also gives that kind of Douglas Adams flair to the story, which is really what I was trying to go for, hardcore. So, but that's breaking rules. That's stuff you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to break up the action and have this interstitial scene with pontification with the character talking to themselves because they're so bored by the conversation and, they're thinking 1,000 times faster than humans are speaking. So, you're not supposed to do that kind of shit. But
Sue says, keep in mind that language and preferences both evolve. Yeah. And that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. That reminds me of something I saw recently. An author I know who is planning on trying a new genre is preparing by reading stuff from the 19th century that sort of launched the genre. And like,
verily, this is so.
I'm going to write modern action adventure, so they're going to go back and read, The Lost World, which is a great book, But yeah, storytelling techniques and structure. I can't watch certain movies even from the 70s that I love because the storytelling style is so slow now. It's
lazy.
not as fun as I remember them.
It's so lazy. Some of it's just so lazy.
Yeah.
And yet I still will watch those films because they're just nostalgic. It's nostalgic trash.
Sometimes, yeah. Just depends on what it is. But yeah, it's easy to forget that we have been reading and writing long enough that there have been more changes, and what we knew to be gospel when we started might not be completely true now. And that's not an easy thing to judge sometimes.
And one thing that I've noticed is that in the 6 or 7 years since I started writing novels, that my style has refined and changed, and it's undoubtedly going to continue to do so as I write. It's not going to stay static. We learn as we write. We become better storytellers, and our storytelling narrative style changes as we mature.
Yeah, going back and listening to The Black, the original podcast, and actually, but of course, I'm trying to remind myself of everything that happened in that book and trying to get the feel of the pacing again because I'll be working on Extinction, and I got to go through all the 4 books because I got to, if we're going to re-release them, I need to find all the rough spots and do a little massaging. But just having finished Trident, I look back at the change in writing style between then and now, and it's a big deal. It's a big difference. For better or worse, it's a big difference.
One of the things that Dean Wesley Smith talks about is getting your critical voice out of your writing. And what you do, Paul, you write something and then you ponder what you've just written. And I think that may be a disservice to you. If you could write it out and then have to come back and fix it in the editing pass to whatever you want, I think your life would be a lot easier on you.
Yeah, but then I miss the importance of the middle. There's that middle thing that has to happen in order to set up the end.
But what does that have to do with not focusing on the sentence you just wrote?
I don't sit there agonize over the sentence.
You have literally told me that that's what you do sometimes.
That they're a bit okay. Well, yes, but it doesn't stop me from writing completely. What will stop me writing completely is an incomplete thought. That's what will stop me from writing completely. It's because there's an and then the and then is like there's 4,000 things that could happen there, and they all affect on which path that you go on. I kind of describe this
most awesome and move along.
I kind of describe this in Derelict because it's how Black thinks about every little thing. There's a finite number of possibilities from that one thing that you're going to do. And then each of those explodes into another 1,000 possibilities. The next one explodes into 1,000 possibilities, and so you end up with this massive tree of shit that can go on, that can happen.
You have taken overthinking to such an extreme level that the overthinking is happening within the fictional elements in your books.
Very meta. It's very meta.
I don't think you need a writing coach, just therapy, man.
Have you considered taking your writing
behind you and smack you in the head when you start that?
If you, what you need to do is not send your book to Sue when you're done. You need to send it to a therapist so they can tell you where you've gone wrong with your life first. And when you run into these problems where you don't know what's going to happen next, the very first thing you need to do is you need to have a video clip on your desktop that all you have to do is double click it and it plays it. When you're wondering what you need to do next, you click that video clip and it pops up and it goes, "I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass." And then you run with whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm a little disturbed by Jason's comment. The whole idea that there are other Pauls out there in alternate universes doing things differently, that kind of disturbs me. I mean, that means that there's a universe where Macumber is a Mormon and Paul's the Pope. You know, I mean, and Terry's a pacifist.
I totally want to see Paul as an Amish guy. I really do.
We still need to go back and write that Amish zombie.
Jebediah Cooley.
Zachariah Cooley.
Pauladiah. He would be Pauladiah.
Pauladiah. Oh my God. Holy shit, that's awful. That's just a Jackass in the Derelict universe. Oh, Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
God. I totally want you to have a Jackass show that would be amazing.
What happened? Oh, I actually thought about, since we have grav plates, about them using grav plates as, and I didn't really put that in Trident. There was a scene I cut, but using grav plates to amped up in different directions. So when you walked in there, you had different portions of the plates pulling on you or pushing on you at the same time. Really wreck everything about you and basically put you into an exploding bubble of taffy. I didn't do
Veronica
it, though.
says there's an alternate universe where you run a possum rescue.
No, this is not happening. This is not happening. This is not happening. There will be no.
And Tim says something rude that I'm not going to repeat, but he said it.
Oh, that's just mean.
That's cold, right? That's really picking on Paul there.
Ow, Tim, that's mean. When I first looked at that, I thought you were saying I was pimping him, but now I understand what you're saying. Okay.
The Organic Robot Society. That's our podcast in an alternate universe. The Organic Robot Society.
Yeah, that's where Terry.
Robot Society.
Well, you know what? In the next couple of years, that might be a hot podcast to actually run. If you could keep from blushing and laughing your ass off, that might actually be a thing. Every day you could highlight a
writing advice with these herbal organic recipes that we've made just for our listeners.
Oh, dead Robot Society supplements to go along with the corpse coffee.
Oh man, that's
we will sell you Terry's sweat.
Nobody wants that. Not even
in pill
Terry.
form. We'll market it as writer's tears. It will be so popular.
Veronica says, when there's a DRS podcast, instead of drinking every time we see a cat, we drink every time we see a possum.
Oh boy, the Dead Ribbit Society.
Oh, the Dead Rabbit Society, where everybody's pregnant.
Robot edibles.
I approve.
Boy, the audience has truly descended into the depths on this one. You have really sparked their imagination with the alternate universe, Paul.
You know, we struck out there. We were trailblazing, having conversations, and then what happens? Chat drags us completely off the path and into our morass.
Hey, we're interacting with the viewers. That's what's important here.
Jake Bible and I will never be friends, ever, in any universe.
There's an alternate universe where his name is Jake Coron.
There is
Jake Gita.
That took me a second.
Jason said there's a universe where reverse centaurs are more popular in fiction than vampires.
Oh, God, the reverse centaur thing. We really had to bring that up again.
Whatever happened to Sailor Cooley? Is he out there in some universe too?
That's not an alternate universe. That's just this universe. He has the suit at home, and he gets dressed up that way all the time.
It's my superhero costume.
He goes down to the docks and...
No, it's my possum rescue outfit. That's what I wear when I go out to rescue the possums.
Gosh, what do they call that genre? Is it the Mighty Girls? What is the Sailor Moon thing?
I don't know.
It's anime.
It's anime, but the whole thing they're Mighty Girls or something like that. That's what you need. We need Paul as a Mighty Girl or whatever it is.
Powerpuff Girl.
Who's to say he's not already? And we just don't know about it.
Magical Girl. Veronica says it's Magical Girls. That's it. Okay. That's what it is.
And magical talking possums. That's just scary. No.
That could be your sidekicks. You are a magical girl in the Sailor Cooley outfit, and you are accompanied by possums everywhere you go that assist you in fighting crime.
You're more than welcome to write that story. You're entitled to it, or anybody else out there is welcome to write that.
Her crime-fighting possums.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. See, if we had really talented folks out there who listen to this show and get the jokes and wanted to participate, they would be creating YouTube animations of this shit, or be doing cartoons like David Wood did.
Veronica, I had an opportunity to beta read the next Princess Holy Aura book. You're going to like it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm thinking Veronica could be the villain, and she would have an army of penguins to take on the possums.
Yes, this would be totally what needs to happen.
I smell series.
You know, it's like we're playing Pitch Storm, but we don't even have the deck out.
Go ahead and call Nabisco. We've already got the cereal ready. Put it on. You know, we got all the marketing tie-ins.
Veronica and her evil penguins. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh God! Do not go to Urban Dictionary and type in penguin. Do not do it. Don't do it.
I don't know what that is, and I'm now I'm going to have to do it, and I'm not going to be happy when I figure out whatever it is.
Just don't do it.
Tim says penguin versus possum. There's the title for that story. Penguin versus possum right there.
Wait. You can't keep switching. Okay, now we have triple P. We're just out of PP everywhere. An evil platypus. We already settled on the penguins versus possums. Now you want a platypus?
Sorry. You get Novi. You don't get to choose. You get stuck with the penguins. That's the way it works.
And you have to talk like Burgess Meredith's character from the old Batman. You
Jason thinks the captain of our penguin guard should be named Tux. I agree. If there's gonna be a penguin, it's gotta be like Commander Tux or something like that. I like that. That's a good plan. I love it.
We have totally went off scale on this.
Yeah, this has been a very helpful writing and publishing journey here.
Let's drag this back to where we think publishing is going in the next decade.
Yo, you think we can drag this back?
Wow. We talked about, you know, the price of paper potentially changing things. What other kind of things should we be watching for on the horizon of publishing, even as indies?
The eventual breakup of Amazon.
You really think that's likely? I think
I don't. Unfortunately,
I think our climate, the big corporations are just going to keep getting larger. I think we have, you know, I don't want Paul and I to get a rant on people not knowing history, but I think we've really forgotten what happens when they're not restrained. You know, what happened with the guild system in England, for example, and how we can see it. The exact opposite of what talk radio has been telling us for years.
It's exactly that. It's repeating it over and over again. Yeah. It's the beginning of the Industrial Revolution all over again.
Yeah. And, you know, and that coincides. We're seeing, you know, people bringing out plays from the fascist handbook. Like I said, I don't want to get too preachy, but if you know history, we can see those parallels. We really have not progressed. We've simply just circled back around, and we're back in the late 19th, early 20th century again. And there's going to be some ugliness coming around. And I don't see any of the corporates breaking up. I see them probably continuing to wield even more influence behind the scenes. And I think publishing is going to continue. They'll shed some of the weak sisters and there'll be more consolidation. But I think the big four, or whatever we're down to, they're probably going to continue to have a pretty solid niche.
As long as they own the IP for the popular titles, they're always going to make money. It's just nobody's interested in new talent at this point. They've all got the IP to rely on. They're just going to remake every fucking thing that they've ever had that ever made a dime, especially marketing it to a new generation where the 40s and 50-year-olds will take their kids to go see it.
Well, the argument I've heard is that those sorts of things are what generates the funds to bring in some new talent and experiment. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's true?
That it's horse shit. Because that's exactly what the goddamn publishing companies say about the fucking all the money they throw at them, and it's going to help the mid-list. It doesn't do fuck all for the mid-list. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.
Publishers don't do anything for the mid-list. They throw throw them out and let them sink.
No, I think they use that money to fish for the next new bestseller.
That's what they do.
And then, like you said, they'll keep your IP if you sign a lifetime deal just because they make something out of it. But yeah, their priorities are the top sellers and fishing for the new set of top sellers, and the people in the middle are screwed.
I think what's going to happen, I'm going to go out on a limb and just, go crazy with this. I think what's going to happen is the traditional publishers that now have all of this IP are going to go ahead and find somebody to partner with and take select sets of it and start making things like Netflix shows, streaming shows of some kind, using IP that they got all the rights for and the author won't see a penny on.
That's why that system is doomed to collapse, because it can't sustain itself.
Why would it collapse? They've got so much stuff they can draw on right now that they can keep funding themselves.
They do, but the thing is, what's going to start chipping away at that mess is the fact that if you look at the shows that have really been breakthrough shows on streaming, they had there was no IP before it. You look at Game of Thrones, you look at The Sopranos, you look at Dexter, you look at those properties that came in and smashed the walls down because they were different and have spawned all this other stuff. They still want to go after that anchor series because that's where they're going to make the money, is on syndication of that, movies off of that, blah, blah, blah. They still want that.
So here's what I anticipate happens. They're going to find some middle-list author that has a surprise breakout hit, but his contract is one of those that gives all the ancillary rights to the traditional publisher. Then you could have the next Game of Thrones where they make it into a big deal, but the only people getting the money out of it is going to be the publisher, not the author.
Right. Which is another thing. That's why I'm saying the system can't sustain itself. It's ultimately
what's going to break it? The only thing that's going to break it is going to be regulation of some kind, because they're not going to come apart on their own.
No, I don't think that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think that more and more independent stuff is going to get funded by folks who are tired of that shit. And I think we've already seen that when you look at the studios that Tom Hanks runs, or George Clooney, or anybody else. They have the money to go produce that stuff. They have the money to go look for the new IP, and they're doing it.
I love your optimism, but I think it's wildly misplaced.
Well, okay, all right. So I'll give you an example. We have several films like Ireland, perfect example. Irish Lottery Fund. Australia has a lottery fund too. Canada as well. You have excellent independent films that are coming out of those mechanisms that end up doing quite well, and they have nobody players in them. They're doing well, and they make money. They make even more money for the actors and the lottery fund and everything else. Patreon, Kickstarter, all of these things are about funding something different, something that doesn't have a manufacturer behind it per se, that doesn't have a big media conglomerate behind it. And people are contributing to that. Now, granted, if you're more well-known, you have a better shot of making it. But the bottom line is the pieces are there and people are investing in these things. I mean, what is Kickstarter or any of these other things other than an investment? You're investing in the person who's doing it, not actually the product itself, but the person that's doing it.
They crowdsourced making the movie for Veronica Mars. The people that wanted to do it, because no studio would support it. It can be done. I just think it's going to remain a rare thing. As opposed to something that's common.
Isn't that just another way of sucking more money out of the people who don't have very much? The studio could fund this Veronica Mars movie, but it's only going to return X amount. But if we can just get the suckers to pay for it up front and then go fucking see it and then buy the DVD if it comes and then buy the digital download, dumb bastards, we didn't even have to put our capital up front. That's the kind of stuff.
You have just destroyed my faith in humanity, David. Thank you so much.
David, how many people?
I need to begin with.
How many? No shit. How many of your readers, if you re-released a book in the Dave Maddox series, would go buy it again?
My readers?
Yeah.
Not that many. I mean, I think if I put out like a special hardcover edition, a small fraction would, but most of them wouldn't rebuy it just for new packaging or something.
Because I know quite a few of my readers would. If I was going to put out an author edition. Like if I release The Black, I'm betting a lot of my older readers will go ahead and buy the new one.
You know what I think you need to do?
I haven't actually tried it.
Paul, here, I've never seen this kind of book before, but I think you should go ahead and do this kind of book as a special Kickstarter thing there. You should take the text of whatever book you're going to do and go through there and have author inserts where you have just a little break going, what the fuck was I thinking when I wrote this? And oh man, I really should have done this to that character. Oh God, what a missed opportunity. Just have your interjections scattered all throughout the book.
I fear that one day there's going to be some person who's working on their literary thesis is going to say, okay, we now have applications like Scrivener and we have tracking and everything else. So let me go get their Scrivener files and start with their first draft till the very last draft and track what changed. And then try and go back and build what was going on with the author at that time when things moved around or scenes are done or whatever else. Because we now have the ability to do that. I'm really terrified that there's some PhD candidate out there who's going to figure out that's a great thing for a thesis. And everybody else is going, are you fucking nuts?
Are you kidding? If they tried to track you from the beginning of this, they would have these huge chunks of like 16 chapters move from the beginning to the end, to the middle, to the split apart and done. How could you track anything and get meaning out of
it? I just work here, dude. I'm just telling you that there's probably at some schools, there's some PhD student or candidate who's decided that's going to be their thesis. And if there's not, there probably is one now.
You've just sent someone down the path of doom.
No, it has nothing to do with me. I uttered the thought aloud. Therefore, it's going to happen to somebody somewhere. It's going to happen. But I mean, if our readers saw the shit that we write before it actually gets finished for prime time, I think they would be very shocked at how bad some of it is. Very bad. The writers among us, probably not so much.
I think you're too hard, man. My stuff definitely improves on second and third and fourth drafts, but it's not horrible most of the time. If I use Dragon, there's a shit ton of mistakes and wrong words in it, but other than that, the general shape of things is pretty close, and I feel like I have a pretty good instinct for how to structure the type of genre I write in. I don't know. I think you're just too mean to yourself.
Forgive the pun here, but I think you put the good bones in your story. You've got stories that I got good bones from the beginning.
Bones.
I think so, anyway.
Bones.
Okay. Unrelated, but since we're talking about state of the publishing industry, I thought of something that has kind of surprised me. 10, 15 years ago, I thought that as indie pub evolved and we improved our quality and our opportunities became greater, that we would gradually become indistinguishable from the average trad pub novel, those of us who were trying to work really hard and doing it well. But one of the things I've observed from participating in Facebook reader groups is what a huge group of people there are who still will not read anything indie published if they can tell that it's indie published.
Yep.
People will, like, there's a fantasy group I'm in, and people will say, can you give me a recommendation for a young adult fantasy novel? And they're all like, David Eddings, Robert Jordan, Terry Goodkind. And it's the same damn thing from the last century. I see it in action adventure. You try to look even in a new pulp group, they're not reading new pulp writers very often. They're sharing tips on where to find the best used copies of this shit that was written in the 1940s and 50s. And I get that there's always going to be some of that, but I was not prepared for the huge chunk of readership who still will not consider anything that's not traditionally published. Although I have a hunch they probably have some favorite indie authors that they don't know are actually indie.
But
do you think that's ever going to change, or do you think people are just going to get more dogmatic about what they're the yes, I'll read indie, and the no, I won't people?
It'll change because the good indies will become of a class that it feels like they're not indies. I mean, people don't look at books they see online and go, oh, that's an indie. Oh, that's a trade pub for the most part. If the covers are well done, they'll be lured in by that cover. They'll be lured in by that blurb.
I think one of the advantages of being a hybrid author is that you get some books under somebody else's flag. And so when you publish your own stuff, that automatically is going to drag that readership over there. And it's also going to say, oh, well, he's got this other stuff published by this other company that's published a whole bunch of authors. So maybe they know what they're doing. Yeah. I would think there's some of that there.
Yeah. The other observation I've made that the pandemic might have affected is there are still a huge number of people who will only purchase print copies, and they insist on purchasing them from the bookstore. They will not order online or anything. And I'm surprised at what a large group that is. And I don't know if the pandemic has altered that behavior any, but that was another thing, the ebook, the percentage of people who read mostly an ebook doesn't seem to have shifted much in the last 7 or 8 years. I haven't dug deeply into it, but it seems like it reached a certain point, and that's kind of where it stopped. And there's still a lot of people who are, damn it, I'm only going to read hardcovers and paperbacks, and the bookstore better have it on the shelf when I come in looking for it, because I will not order it and I will not buy it online.
Then you're never going to fucking find it.
They are going to run into some rough times now that the paper has become short.
Yeah, that's going to be the other issue is okay, that book I was counting on reading this year is not going to come out for, a year and a half, maybe 2 years, if at all now.
And if you didn't pre-order it, you may never see a copy of it.
Yeah, it's quite possible the print run will be that small.
I wonder if it'll affect libraries, or if that's a small enough chunk that it won't make much difference. But when, I know in some countries, I can't remember the term, but you get a certain amount of money every time your book is read in a library. Mm-hmm. We don't do that here. We get a cut when our publisher sells it to the library. Now, digital is a little bit different, but yeah, it's interesting.
I know in audiobook, when I put Derelict into libraries, the audiobook, that I have probably a couple dozen listeners that found me in the library and found Derelict there. So I'm interested to see what happens when I get the ability to put the black in there as well and make that wide. How many readers or listeners I'll get from the library. But there are a lot of people who do that I'm finding out about, that have vision issues or whatever, and they can't afford the audiobooks because they're disabled. So they're going to the library, and therefore having the library with non-Amazon exclusive titles is kind of a nice thing.
Tony says in the comments something totally crazy, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and repeat this. Maybe with the paper shortage, college textbook prices might not start to look insane. I'm sorry, but you're now going to have to pay $700 for your college textbook. That's how this is going to work.
A friend in my author circle edits and writes textbooks, and she can also give you the flip side of how shitty it is from her side too. I mean, there's no question the prices are wild and crazy, but I mean, almost every day somebody contacts her and says, hey, where can I get free PDF downloads of this book or that book or whatever book? And, it's the same kind of deal. The authors aren't seeing much of that big ass chunk of money.
No, they're not.
But I have, as someone with several degrees, I have a lot of sympathy, and kids in college, I have a lot of sympathy for the crazy ass textbook prices too. So yeah, I do.
No, it's just the business is kind of, the business is flawed from the ground up, and always has been.
I'm pretty sure that organized crime is actually involved in textbook pricing.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, basically, it's like you look at the used price or the used book price, and the company's not getting any fucking money for that, either the authors. Mm-hmm. So, and you're going to pick that up because it's $10 or $15 cheaper every time. So then the professors are like, okay, we have to change this one word, or the writers, we have to change this one word on page 410 so we can call it a new edition. And so people have to buy it again rather than just use the old copy, because now the profit will be on this one, and it's got this paragraph that doesn't exist in the other book.
You've brought this really pristine looking book in here, but I'm afraid that the word on page 77 is changed, so we can only offer you 23%.
And then there's the VIG. We got to talk about the VIG situation. Antoine says his textbooks still cost 2 arms. 10-year-old used book, $179. Jesus Christ.
Something else. And my daughter, some of her textbooks were digital only, and yet they were still priced out the ass. I don't want to quote figures because I'll misremember, but yeah, some of the digital downloads, and she struggles to comprehend from a digital format. She would have preferred a paper format.
It's different. It's trying to learn on something digital is not the same thing as having a paper book.
Yeah.
Says the old guy.
For some people.
Sean asks if most college textbooks are available in ebook form. I don't actually know.
I would think so.
The black market is definitely a big thing.
Oh yeah, there's a huge black market.
Guy in the trench coat sidles up, opens up the trench coat. You want this math textbook? I can get it to you half off.
Or for free.
Is, the black market exists when something is too hard to acquire. There has to be some kind of balance there. It's never going to go away. You know, I don't feel like piracy is a big deal for me because maybe I'm just not that big a deal. But, you know, my books are reasonably priced. Yeah, I know some people steal them, but I don't think it's that many.
I don't worry about it too much.
You spend more time trying to find a book to steal somewhere than if you actually just paid the money to buy it. And it's two separate audiences to begin with. The people that are going to spend and invest that kind of time in trying to find stolen books are not the ones that were going to pay you in the first place.
Yeah, that's pretty much my stance on it as well. Is it's like that was a reader I wasn't going to have anyway. But if they enjoy the book, maybe they'll go buy the next one.
They'll talk about it. They'll tell other people. They'll become advertising for your book.
Yeah, that's another part of it. But I mean, I've had some of those people kind of contact me before. It's the same thing with the podcast. I'm already giving it away for fucking free. What else can you do? It's like I'm kind of short-circuiting the piracy thing right there, right then and there with giving the audio away. So obviously I'm not too concerned about it. And, you know, like I said, if those people find my work, then, you know, more power to them. They're still going to get a DMCA
like
notice.
Wife's cat.
Oh God, it's Minnie. Yeah, Matt, Cory Doctorow said that piracy isn't an author's biggest problem. It's obscurity. He's right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. We talked about this on the show that I haven't put out yet, but we discussed the whole drinking game rules, and I think we may actually have to, do that.
Wait, we have to codify the rules? That's bullshit.
Yeah, but then we have to hire a lawyer to make sure that the PSA warning on there is the hazard warning and everything else is very, very clear and relieves us of legal responsibility for encouraging binge drinking. We'll have to have that looked at. Dead Robot Society does not patronize or whatever. I don't know what it would look like.
Well, what are some things you guys feel like have gotten better in, say, the last decade in indie publishing? Where do we see improvements, things we're happier about, signs of hope? What are some things we like?
The recommendation engines, the way that when you publish something, people that would like your stuff can actually find it better now. There are more avenues, whether they use Goodreads, whether Amazon is recommending to them, whether wherever is recommended. There are now large reader groups where people talk about things. It used to be hard. You'd publish a book and you'd hope people would buy it at the bookstore and talk about it. But now it's really easy to have that conversation. That's become better.
I feel like a lot of the vendors, not all of them, but a lot of them have continued to up their game. I think Draft to Digital has set a really high bar for a lot of these people to match. I feel like they're very customer focused and author focused, and they really get what it takes to do it well, and they keep rolling out new little features and making things easier. I've been super happy with them. And Nook at least tries their shit, but they do periodically try to improve. Whoops. Somebody's not happy.
You knew that was going to happen, and yet you're going to just keep doing it because you just have to fuck up the show.
Princess would never hurt Minnie.
I think the drink for two cats at once needs to be a whiskey sour, and it needs to be slammed.
Princess doesn't like other kitties.
I think you mentioned Drafted Digital book funnel was the same way. That's why I'm hoping Amazon's monopoly is going to get a bit fucked up, because I know quite a few people have told me that they haven't read the black. They've only and derelict. They've only listened to the audio because they will not give Amazon money, or that the Amazon store in their country is effed up, or whatever. So they'll go look at the other places to get the stuff. So, I mean, and you don't know how much that's affecting you, going wide versus just being on KDP. You really don't know until you do it. But then you're going to have to change your marketing and try and get a little more aggressive in some of those spaces if you're really going to try and get your discoverability up. So it's going to be a new juggling act for me, certainly with the black and whatever else I put out. But yeah, it's whether you're traditionally published, a hybrid, or an indie, and the rules are constantly changing. They just don't seem to be static for very long before something new comes out. Matt says he always drinks in moderation just because moderation is the name of my imagined bar. Nobody should judge me.
Excellent advice. Moderation is for monks.
Moderation is the name of my living room.
The study says 1 in 5 people are killers. So if I killed John because he might be the killer.
Sue says that's what Jazz sounds like if Leo even looks at her. Her new name is Blank Kitty.
C blank.
C blank Kitty.
C blank Y. C blanky Kitty. That is an amazing bar name. I like that. That's awesome. Moderation. A bar called Moderation. Happy hour.
I thought he meant C word kitty. That would be quite a bar name. I don't guess you could do it in the States. Maybe get by with it in Australia or somewhere.
I don't know. I bet in Nevada you can get away with it in certain places. All you have to do is have the sign up there next to the mobile home with, whatever's going on. Yeah, he was talking about moderation, not yeah.
Jason says my cat is actually named Cranky Pants, and that's actually what I call Princess. I call her Princess Cranky Pants.
That cat has issues.
She's deaf. She was abandoned, and she does definitely have issues.
Yeah. You just take in all these little tiny in desperate need of assistance kitties. That's thing.
What I do. That is my superpower.
You can read Jazz, the only music where you listen to the notes that aren't played. I've currently got a book where you can read the words that aren't there, but it won't sell for much on Vela.
Does anything sell for much on Vela?
Terry told us something, or said something pre-show that just floored me. Absolutely floored me.
I will go ahead and share that information. I've had a Lit RPG book that I've been selling in Vela, and I've been pondering just letting it go because in the last 2 months since it's been out, I've earned $5 on the reads for this thing.
That's better than I've done on Publish Drive.
Amazon in those last 2 months gave me launch bonuses of around $700. And that has to say something about how badly they rolled this platform out.
Somebody needs to calculate the rate of return on that. I want to see it.
It's actually probably about $650, but yeah, it was $230 the first month, and this time it was just short of $400. So yeah, I'm like, I've sold $5 in reading stuff. How can I possibly earn this kind of bonus money? Something is really weird.
They are that fucking desperate to keep people from quitting.
They are, but I'm not sure it's going to help them.
In the short term, probably not.
It'll be interesting to see where that goes. The bonus money is enough to keep me writing the episodes. Even though I've dropped to publishing once a week, I'm still going to keep doing it because they're paying bonus money.
Yeah.
I would have stopped otherwise.
The fact that they're paying you, that means absolutely they are desperate to keep content coming.
Yeah.
I wondered when if they were going to have to prop things up.
Because they need to keep it going long enough for readers to start forming habits.
Yeah. Well, I've seen. I didn't know there was as much podcast fiction as there is out there right now. Of course, most of it's episodic, whatnot. But I've been watching how many people are kind of flocking more toward the short story chapter length. It's like they're finally discovering audiobooks all over again. So even though, because they came back from their commute and were like, oh, I'm missing all this stuff. And then they started needing, 15, 20 minutes away from their house or whatever and get away from the kids for a while. So they go listen to a 15, 20 minute episode and they're mentally commuting. And more people seem to be grabbing on to the podcasts again. So it's interesting to watch what's going on. And because we're still in this weird, how do I want to describe it? This weird place with the pandemic and everything, we don't really know how things are going to move in the next year. I mean, anybody who guesses is going to be wrong.
If you think very much is going to change in the next 2 or 3 years, I suspect you're wrong.
Depends on supply line. Depends on supply lines.
The problem here is, and this is going to get into, we're digging into the weeds here. Here in the United States, we're what, 50, getting close to 60% vaccinated. Places where things are being produced like paper and whatnot, they're down below 5%. They're at 1% or something ridiculous like that. The supply chain disruptions are not going away anytime soon.
No, they're not. There's a massive backlog. Chips.
I feel like I learned something new that people haven't been able to get. Yeah, I'm surprised by something else that I didn't realize there was a backlog because of COVID.
Yeah,
it's a lot more widespread than I thought.
It's massive. It if you're trying to price a computer right now, trying to find the parts is a nightmare. If you're trying to source parts for a robot, good luck. It's just most of the shit that you think you can get off the shelf is just not going to be there. And if it is, it's going to cost 3 times as much as it used to because it's become that precious. And that is not going to stop for at least a year, if not a year and a half.
I've heard the vehicle prices are up because of certain computer components and chips and things.
Yeah, GM was basically sidelined for 8 months because they had no chips for the cars. They had all these cars ready to rock. They were just missing this one component.
For making them so damn complicated.
Well, this is another reason why the United States, just for national security reasons, needs companies in the states that manufacture chips. Period. End of story. Mm-hmm. It just needs to happen. You can't rely on somebody else for that kind of thing. So the manufacturers need to get together and have something there and make sure they can manufacture their own damn chips. But that's just me thinking aloud, that kind of thing. If paper continues to become more and more precious, that's going to change the market again. Period.
I read that cork is becoming scarce. And that's why you're seeing synthetic cork in wine bottles. But I don't think it's so much COVID related as they're expecting there just not to be much cork in the future. And they said you might want to start saving all your cork as collector's items, like whenever you get a bottle of wine with an actual cork.
God, can you imagine that cork boards?
I've got a whole basket full of corks with Snoop Dogg's face on it because I like Sally Red wine. I'm not lying either. I got a bunch of them.
I bought a bunch of brand new corks because I have a workbench that I made that has screws that stick out through the plywood and it's sharp on one end. And I was like, what can I use to cover this up that's not going to hurt the cats? And I said, oh, corks. I'll buy some corks. And I've got a bag of them. I'll never use them all, but I've got a bag.
I'm just imagining, I'm just going to get a cork board from Office Depot. Yeah, there's $200. But their problem is you got all the fires in the West. Dan was telling us the crops and the crop damage in Washington, California, and Oregon is extensive. So wheat may really go through the roof in 3 or 4 months. But it's not just that; it's all the timber. A lot of timber burned, and stuff that's made for all of this stuff is just, we got problems everywhere. It's gonna be a mess. Which is why I will keep writing stupid shit for you to listen to once a week, so you get your fix and of non-reality. There we go. How's that?
Okay. Do we? Well, I guess it wouldn't be pertinent to Terry because he's writing science fiction. But are we acknowledging this stuff in our fiction? I mean, I guess I can pose this question to the people who are commenting too. So far, I have not talked about like pandemics and shortages and things like that in my books. I will allude to the more high concept things that I see happening in the world, like what we alluded to with trends repeating themselves and things like that. Do you think you'll touch upon anything like the pandemic with your writing?
I know that I read something from an author that got a negative review because the book was set in 2020 and nothing was mentioned about COVID or the pandemic. And undoubtedly, this was written and published before 2020. So at least some readers are paying attention.
I don't think I've ever put a date on my books of when they take place, which means that it's like the Black. Okay, that's a different freaking universe than ours. I can do whatever the hell I want there and not mention the goddamn pandemic. Plus, if you got an issue with that, here's an oil monster, eat your face. The Tony Downs books, however, and the Garrett's Inferno and the Garaga universe that takes place now, I was actually thinking about that the other day, whether or not I was going to address any of that. And I figured out that no, I'm not going to. In that universe, Houston burns down to the ground. Did it burn down in real life? No. So why the fuck do I need to put COVID in my goddamn book? Unless there's a reason for it.
I got to say, nothing against Houston, but when I drove through there recently, all those damn bridges, it wouldn't bother me if those burned down because holy crap, I've never seen so many bridges. I thought Charleston was bad because they have big, tall, rickety ones, but holy mother of Elvis, I have bridge. And my wife has a anxiety about bridges anyway.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, it was bad.
When you're saying bridges, I think you're talking about our overpasses that go at 90-degree angles. Yeah.
And just the way, I'm zooming around Minute Maid Field, 200 feet in the air, hoping nobody runs me off because I got in there at rush hour. But even just trying to get out of Galveston, everywhere, you can't go more than, a mile or two, that it's, and then it's, just until I got to freaking wherever Baylor is. I think it was Waco before I felt free of the bridges. That might be an exaggeration, but.
No, I think that's.
Got a lot of bridges.
Probably.
But then I saw your flooding recently and I understood.
It's not just that. It's like, my friend from Colorado, when it came down here, he was just like, how do you guys drive in the winter? I'm like, we don't forget snow or ice. And then that very trip, we had an ice storm. And he's like, I know why we're not going out today. I was like, yeah, you don't want to go out today. It's pretty funny, but yeah, you don't see overpasses like that anywhere else. But yeah, it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. Luckily, Terry and I don't have to commute, so we're good. We're good right now.
Yeah,
I'm glad I don't.
Unless our power goes out for 48 hours.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not discuss that. How long were you out for power because of the hurricane?
About 48 hours.
About 48 hours. It's about the same amount of time you were out from the winter storm.
No, that was 4 days.
Well, that was 4 days. Shit. Ooh, yikes.
We got lucky. Even though we live up in the mountains and the temperatures were way below zero, we only lost power for a few hours. Plus, the houses are really well insulated up here. At least the older houses are. We did get to the point, though, where we were burning fence posts and shit, just scrap lumber, whatever I could bring in, because we had burned through all of our firewood. I didn't restock at the beginning of the winter because I thought I had enough, and we had a pretty harsh winter there for a while. So yeah, during that snap we were burning anything we could find, but it cleaned out the yard really good. All my scrap lumber's gone. All my old fence posts are gone.
Yeah, but then you got all the high prices of lumber. Basically, you were burning money.
That's an excuse not to build anything. Like, we can afford it right now. I can't redo the deck. No.
Oh man, even the synthetic stuff is really high priced because of the supply chain problems. But it may ultimately become cheaper than timber, which is really terrifying if you think about it. because that shit's expensive.
Okay. Well, I think
that's not going to become
want
cheaper
me to
than
point
timber
out
because
that,
California is going to burn down, so timber is going to be hard to get.
well, one positive from all this is with all people's economic problems, the porn industry has exploded. We got all this self-published porn on OnlyFans, you know, and Macumber spoke to my heart and told me to bring that up because he would have.
Exploded. We
So
like that.
There's an opportunity there for you guys. You might want to branch out the podcast.
Yeah, but if Paul
personal stuff.
If Paul takes his clothes off, then we start doing Wookiee porn, and I'm not sure that I'm into that.
Only if it's full frontal. I don't have any hair on my back.
Oh.
I'm only a half bear. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. At least unlike you, I don't stick to the wall. Actually, it was Justin who would stick to the wall. I think you could have, if he took his shirt off, he could stick to any surface. I'm pretty sure non-stick pans, Teflon, he'd stick to it.
That was the Vaseline, not the hair.
Oh, Justin, I hope you're grinning wherever you are.
He's fluffing us off. But with a smile on his face, I'm sure. We got to keep the memory alive.
The Justin Macumber smile. Oh, the jackassery of it all. The jackassery of it all.
So when are cons coming back? Or are they coming back? Like I noticed Dragon Con was having something. Are they coming back in your area yet?
I think Dragon Con was at half the volume that they could normally have. And I don't know about what's coming in our area, but we're going to 20 books in November. So that's something. I have no idea what Nevada's restrictions are going to be at that point.
I'm not going anywhere. I can't afford it. Too much shit happened. So I'm staying put. I don't think I'll be going to a con anytime soon. I think it's going to be, if I go anywhere, probably be 20 books next year and maybe Balticon if I can swing it. But it just kind of depends on finances and everything else, as always. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe now the Derelict Saga is finished, it will sell like hotcakes because it's a complete series. Yeah, that could happen. You were saying?
Oh, I was saying the August before the pandemic, we had a new Comic-Con launch in Albuquerque, and it was really well done. Had a lot of really high-profile people. Got to do a few panels, and I'm hoping that one will come back because it's local. I don't have to spend a lot of money to go.
Yeah, that would be kind of nice.
I missed all the guys at Balticon, and I missed whatever that Houston con was where the dude was going to get beaten up by the Sons of Anarchy people for stealing all the money or whatever that was.
Our
Good
con.
times.
Weren't we at that con? That was the one we were at.
More than once.
Yes.
He survived a few years.
It was the second year that he pulled that shit. Oh, God.
So that one needs to come back too, just for the entertainment factor.
I don't think that guy's allowed to do business again in Houston or anywhere else in Texas. I think he had to run for his life. They still have a hit out on him. Charlie Husum is, especially after The Gentleman, the guy's like, oh fuck, that guy's coming for me. Oh, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad.
But yeah,
they were talking about in the comments. They're talking about OnlyFans and them having a policy where they were going to go ahead and say no explicit content, and then they realized, oh wait, that's our entire business right there. We can't just cut off explicit content.
Yeah, I've heard that there's issues with like the Capital One and places
Visa.
like that.
Visa was the big one. Visa and MasterCard were like, oh, we don't like this whole porno thing. It was so funny because this is probably gonna get me in trouble, but with somebody. But on Twitter, somebody who's on OnlyFans that I follow, she retweeted somebody who said, okay, all you Puritan wives out there lobbying Visa and MasterCard to get us flip. This is my only source of income. So if we get banned from this, I'll just go back to fucking your husbands. I was like, oh, damn.
Yes, but to have a true economic impact, that's a lot of husbands, okay? I just got to tell you that. You're going to be busy. If you're going to have to go cross country, that's a lot of husbands, all right?
I don't know. If you live in certain Bible thumping parts of the country, you might find a lot more business than you think.
But isn't it interesting that what things we don't apply the cancel culture label to, even though I mean, shit, they were canceling Ozzy concerts when we were kids, and boycotting certain books and stores and library. I mean, cancel culture. Elvis couldn't be shown from the waist down, which is okay with me.
Beatles.
I mean, cancel culture's been around a long time, and it wasn't necessarily.
It's just become more vitriolic now that social media is so prevalent and so everywhere.
Yeah, it's amped up.
Everybody has to find something to get outraged about.
I've discovered that, I don't care what social media says. If I suddenly became something that was going to be canceled, I'd be like, who cares? Go ahead and cancel me. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to bitch on Twitter. Who actually reads Twitter other than Paul? Nobody.
I now only use lists on Twitter. I have an author list that it's an action adventure list, but I've gotten to where I don't even look at that anymore because so many of them are using conservative talking points as a way of audience engagement. And that's fine if that's what you want to do, but I don't want to read that shit. So the more political the authors get, the less I'm likely to look at them. But I've got a soccer list and a baseball list and a stand-up comedy list and an MMA list, and I only use lists. And that way I don't have to see most of the crap that gets circulated on Twitter. And that's the only way I find it usable.
That's pretty much what I've done. So I've gotten rid of.
It's
the only way I can message Paul now, bastard.
You can join our Discord.
Yeah, we have a Discord channel. We're
welcome to join our Discord.
I keep forgetting that it exists. Discord exists.
You can come on there and actually, pimp and talk to people.
We'll make a hashtag possum sub channel that you can go ahead and post possum pictures in if you really want to.
I don't think they're native to my area. I can get you some rattlesnakes and coyotes. Oh, and it's tarantula season right now.
Thank you. Yeah, you can keep that.
Yeah, my wife stops the car in the driveway, hops out, and like, what? She goes, it's a tarantula. And we came out, and how pretty it is. And they are really cool. But yeah, my wife she's a scientist. So we have tarantula mating season where they're traveling around now. So if you're afraid of spiders, don't visit right now.
Where do you live? New Mexico? Burn it to the ground.
Yeah, Santa Fe.
Burn it to the ground. Burn it now. Kill it with fire. You ever seen the movie Eight-Legged Freaks? That's what I'm thinking about.
No.
Oh, God.
I saw Arachnophobia back in the 80s. That was kind of a cheesy one, but I saw it with a buddy who was Shaw and I am in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So
Paul, Matt has a band name for you, Rage Against the Possum.
Okay, then. Yes. Okay, then. Why? Whatever. Yes, I'm prepping the napalm. If you haven't seen Eight-Legged Freaks, you should see it. It just turn the brain off and enjoy it. It's got so much ridiculous humor. It's excellent for that reason. Their OnlyFans page was canceled, so the tarantulas have to hit the road again. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I totally, what the OnlyFans thing is dragging me places that I shouldn't go here, but
probably.
I wonder if there's the Japanese porn version of OnlyFans where the tentacles is a thing. I just need to know that.
With augmented reality that we have,
one of that Cooley picture coming out of his zipper.
Yeah, I recently reshared that, and someone said that I was basically. I wish, but I recently reshared that, and somebody said, "Oh, how could you do that to me?" And I said, "Did you see the tentacle coming down from under?" Oh yes, oh God, yes.
One of my greatest works of Photoshop.
Yeah, that was special.
That's where I keep.
It was special.
Okay, yeah. I thought of a publishing industry question. Do you think that the traditional author book tour is going to come back when all of this is over? Because it's never really been that efficient a way of selling books. I mean, I guess it's good for vanity if you're a big deal and shit tons of, if you're Dan Brown or somebody. But between the paper shortages, COVID, and who knows what else, I just wonder if that's the kind of thing that's going to mostly go away.
I think it will. I just don't see it being something that most authors would be wanting to do. It's never really made money for anybody doing it. Maybe if you're a mega star, maybe, but
Book tours are money bleeds, Antoine. They certainly are, or can be. It depends on if you are yourself organizing your book tour, then yeah, you're going to do it wrong and get completely boned. If your publisher's doing it, they still might do it wrong and you get completely boned, but then you're not out the money. That's the big thing. But yes,
can be good for the, thing. Yeah, if it can be good for the store if they bring in a high enough profile person, because tons of people come for the event, they buy other books, maybe that helps. But yeah, for the individual author, it's almost like a thing we're keeping alive because it's something we've always done and because we all fantasize about it. But I've just seen too many lonely authors sitting at their table. Everybody's walking around them and past them.
That's me every Balticon, baby. That's me every Balticon.
You know, when somebody comes up to talk to you, they're really just another author who wants to know if, you know, do you have an agent? Could you get me with your publisher?
Totally. I think that you should, if you're going to go to one of these things, you should have a plant to be there to just, you know, accuse you of doing horrible things to draw people over so that they at least come over to your table. And Veronica has a suggestion for you, David, that I think is just terrible and awful and really should be jumped on immediately. Why can't there be animated in like these little tentacles moving around? I do not have that
skill set, but I would be able to give creative input to someone who does. We could work.
I got to see those little tentacles waving around. And Paul is horrified.
I know there's apparently some kind of porn where the tentacles are just going everywhere, and Paul could be in that while reading the black. You can have the tentacles going in the ears and nose and other orifices, and he's trying to read and shifting in his seat a little.
I really try not to think about Paul's orifices.
They have a technology now that allows you to you can create an animated character and it will actually animate your expressions on it. So I was thinking what would be kind of cool and groovy to do would be to write a short story about the black and have the black narrate it. So it would just be the black reading. It would be me reading, but it would look like the black creature narrating the story.
And occasionally have just an ice cream truck drive by playing ice cream. Because somebody said that in the comments. I forget who, but Tony said that.
Yeah, you can play ice cream truck music.
Unless you can find one of those creatures to read it, then it's cultural appropriation. You're stealing a job from a tentacle guy. So
oh my God, I can't believe you fucking went there.
Is that cultural? That's like species appropriation. That's not even a culture.
Wait. I've already fucked this up because that book appropriated the Blob, the Thing, Leviathan, you name it.
You have just admitted to being a horrible appropriator.
That's what you are. It's not an appropriation.
Trope appropriation.
Start up a leaf blower, Dean says. That'll get people to come over to your table.
Yesterday, I was trying to work on editing audio, and these assholes started up a leaf blower. I swear to God, it had been tuned up to like go to space. The house was shaking. It was just like, I'm gonna walk away from the computer now and come back when my deaf ass can't hear that. It took like 20 minutes, but I swear to God, it sounded like an air raid siren or a jet was taking off. It was ridiculous.
Sue says you're a colonizer.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That's an advantage of living out in the middle of nowhere, though, is I don't tend to have those interruptions unless somebody's having a new well drilled. Then it goes on for a week.
Or everybody around here
transport flies over.
Everybody around here decides to get their landscaping done at the same time during the same week. So it's like you hear the trucks beeping for an entire goddamn week. So you have to record at like 3 a.m.
Dean says he didn't know SpaceX did leaf blowers.
Somebody needs to do that as a meme for the big rocket.
Is that like Elon Musk, when he was doing the flamethrower sale, he should go ahead and make the leaf blower that's just really muscular.
Oh my God. Future weapons.
So in honor of Macumber, do I need to make a pun about leaf blower and talk about Treebeard getting lucky on a Saturday night or something?
We appreciate your efforts on our behalf.
Wow, that was not a bad attempt. That was not a bad attempt at all. Have you been
guys? We've been talking
Justin?
about this for almost 2 hours.
What is this that we've been talking about?
Everything, literally everything, guys. In the comments there, if you have any questions about publishing that you think is that we need to talk about, why don't you commit to this?
Yeah, maybe
drag us back on the subject here, guys. Don't encourage us to go tentacle porn. Go ahead and drag us back to publishing.
Tony, they did lose the Entwives. That's why they had to. Well,
let's not go there.
Hey, that was on the down low. Okay, that was just on the down low.
Oh, really? Now we're anyway. I'm going to ignore every part of that. Oh, yeah. Semicolon. Did you really say that, Sue?
Ent thoughts. Ent thought or ent ho?
Wow.
Matt can't think about publishing anymore. He's got tentacles on the brain, apparently.
Okay.
I'm sure somebody in one of our listeners actually knows about the tentacle porn and can point you in the right direction, so to speak.
Okay. Here's an actual question. Okay. Well, Siri Antoine asks, how do you get over anxiety of putting something new out? Well, for me, I think back to the fact that I waited so much longer than I should have to even start writing and putting my writing out there because of anxiety and fear and insecurity. And there was no good reason for it. And I lost so many years that I could have been at least, building up content and building up my backlog. But I was afraid of people reading it. And when I finally did, I put my stuff out in a writing workshop, and the first few critiques were excruciating. And now the kind of critiques I got back then would be like, oh yeah, I do need to fix that. You do get over it. So I would say first, I remind myself of all the time I lost and will lose if I don't just get over myself and do it. And second, I realize that the pain gets easier over time, and it never feels great to get a bad review, but it doesn't feel like those first bad reviews do.
But some of them are just absolutely goddamn hilarious because you sit there and go, what book did you fucking read?
Not to drag us away from...
Go
ahead.
Well, I was saying my sometimes co-author, Alan Baxter, who you guys know, has been known to have T-shirts made of his really, really bad reviews. Some of it's actually pretty awesome, funny and horrible. Yeah.
My comments are exactly the same as yours. I waited too long and I was way too self-conscious, but now after publishing a couple of dozen novels, I don't feel that way anymore. You build up a skin, you build up a thick skin that you don't have in the beginning.
Trident came out yesterday. Which means that the Derelict Saga is finished. Except for the audiobook, which I'm working on. Anxiety ramped up to about 90,000 and still is to a certain extent, but it's beyond my control. The fucking book is out there. It's going to be what it is. And getting here has been a hell of a rough ride. But I'm anxious not about that book now. I'm anxious about writing the current one that I'm writing. So I want to focus on the next work rather than the piece of shit I just put out.
I do say that as somebody that is the sole bread earner, every single time I publish a novel, the first couple of weeks of me watching the sales, I say, is this the time they figured out I was just a fraud to begin with and my sales tank? It doesn't happen, but I worry about it every time. Nonetheless, that's the way it is.
It takes me 6 months to find out what the numbers are. 6 fucking months.
Oh, Terry would love that. Not having access to any of his data.
So I can't be anxious. I've learned, the black taught me I can't even really think about that shit. There are some sneaky ways to kind of come up with some kind of estimate, but why bother at this point? It's just going to make me want to go, put a bullet in my head, and we don't need that. So, yeah.
At the risk of dragging us away from publishing again, Sue says she narrated Tentacle Erotica. So there, I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay.
So yeah, she might have some tentacle porn pointers for you. Okay, I'm not going to dissect that.
Recording yourself in flagrante is not the same as narrating, just so you know.
I only record naked.
Okay, someone asks about what you're using for writing. People are mentioning Scrivener. What are you guys doing?
Paul uses Scrivener. I use Word.
I don't use
Oh, that's
Scrivener.
right. You said you've tried something new. I forgot.
Yeah, I'm using what the hell is it called? Wavemaker. I'm doing this for Station 3, and I'm still using Scrivener for my other projects and won't flip to any of them. So things are going to stay where they are. If they were starting Scrivener, they're not moving. But I figured that I would go ahead and give this a shot because I needed something new, and John Muro asked me to check it out. So I went and checked it out, and it's something I can actually contribute to as a developer, and it's open source, and it works on anything. And it has more or less all the features from Scrivener that I'm used to using without a lot of the clutter. So it's a very toned down, very, very toned down, but it also allows you to sync your data, and you choose how to sync your data. It makes you responsible for syncing your data. So but the fact is, you don't have to have the data in the cloud. You can do it however you want to do it.
Cool. I've gone back to Word. I did Scrivener for a while, but I just didn't use very much of it. And I've been using Word forever, and it plays nicely with Dragon where Scrivener did not. And I have a free write. So sometimes that's a thing where you can't really edit or anything. You're just cranking it out and it comes out in a text thing, and then I'll transfer that over to Word. But yeah, mostly I'm a Word guy at this point.
Fuck Word.
Paul, somebody asked you to repeat what that was that you're using, the software.
Oh, let me look up the website real quick. That's it. Wavemaker.co.uk is the actual site. And it's called Wavemaker. It's pretty interesting. Like I said, it's still undergoing development and still getting refined and all that. But I think it has a future. I really do. And the developer is currently figuring out that now that he's got people interested in it, that he needs to re-architect it. So he's re-architecting it so people can actually contribute to it instead of having to go through the spaghetti code. So good on him. And you can support him through Patreon, by the way. It's a single developer, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I would say check that out. Somebody mentioned Ulysses. Ulysses is awesome. Ulysses is very good. I use that for portions of was it Outbreak? It's either Outbreak or Tomb. I don't remember which. It was one of the two. Regardless, I had a good experience with Ulysses. It's very nice and cut down. Scrivener 3 finally out for Windows. Does anybody know if it's good?
I was involved with the beta, but I only used it a little bit to test out certain things, and I'm still not a Scrivener user, so I don't know that my opinion means anything.
That's because you're a slacker.
I never use anything more than the word processing stuff, so yeah, I'm just not a great person to use more than text stuff.
Yeah, some of us like to be able to organize our shit.
Yeah, but I'm a guy that starts writing at word 1 and writes to the end of the novel. There's not much organizing going on.
Yeah, you're weird. You're weird. You're just fucking weird.
Truth.
Yeah. What else you folks got?
Let's see. Is there a genre of novel you have always wanted to write but haven't yet?
Western.
All right, well, Paul, you're not allowed to answer this because it says a genre.
That's rough. Tough.
Yeah, Western was my
tough.
answer too. I want to try Western sometime. I don't know what form it will take, but that's something that's in the back of my head I want to do.
I've been trying to write. I've been trying to write The Day the Town Died for about 13 years now, or 10 years now. It takes place during the Silver Rush.
Someone else. Maybe it's time to move on to a different one and come back to that.
That's why I left it alone. I haven't touched it in probably 7 or 8 years, but it's something.
Okay.
It's something that's still alive in my brain. I just haven't figured out how to write it yet. But I love the idea of mixing that with Garaga. I think that would be a lot of fun. So use Western trope, but put my stuff into it, if you will. Not write a traditional Western, because what's fucking fun in that?
For me, it was a lit RPG, but I'm actually doing it for Vela, so I'm getting to do that thing that I've always wanted to do, and it's a way to write that heart project, and I thought maybe still make some money, but we'll see how that works out.
Hey, it's possible.
I've gone back to something that was my wanted to do. Years ago, I did that first classic pulp adventure, kind of a Doc Savage type thing, and put it out.
I remember that one. That was an awesome book.
Thank you. It didn't sell a whole lot, but I only wrote one. But, I have a weird brain, and I didn't come back to it until this past year, and I finally put out the second one, and they're both doing pretty well, and it's a lot of fun because I like writing those.
There's a second book, and you didn't tell me? Do you
told
hate me?
you?
Are you not on his mailing list?
Because I asked if I could use your review as a praise quote for one of them. Anyway, I'll send you copies because
I thought it was still in progress. I didn't realize it was done.
Oh, okay. No, I'll hook you up because I redid the covers on both of them. But anyway, and I'm working on book 3. I've already got my cover art commissioned, and that's another one of those where I'm just allowing myself to have fun. Like I gave a guy rocket boots, like the Rocketeer sort of type thing in one book. I'm like, why not? That's a Golden Age adventure thing. And I use the Illuminati and I use Bigfoot, and I'm just having fun with it. People are buying the damn
I want to
thing
see
and giving me good
Bigfoot
reviews.
with rocket boots. Bigfoot with rocket boots. That's a thing.
Yeah, okay. Paul and I will collaborate on a Western, and we'll work in a Bigfoot and rocket boots. We'll do like
the Wendigo and the possum. I like this. How about a possum Wendigo?
The armadillo and the possum.
Oh no! Oh god, that sounds like a terrible Western. This sounds like an awful Western. Right now with Station 3, I'm really trying to ape off Dead Space. The Dead Space series more than ever because they are remaking the whole series. And so I know it's going to grab a whole bunch of new people. And if I can get out ahead of that with Station 3 before that new stuff comes out, plus another game that was written by the original guys, Dead Space, I might be able to want to start YouTubing that fucker and bring in some of the people who like those games as, new audience members into the podcast or whatever else. Just now is the time, which means I have to have fun, like David's talking about. You got to have the stupid humor. You got to have the crazy shit that doesn't necessarily make sense, and you got to break it up and have the long stints of action, and then get everybody moved around and have them discover shit, get stuff thrown in their way, separate characters, kill them off one at a time. The usual, standard blueprint for how
one does.
Yeah, things one does. And I'm purposely going that way, trying to make it more of an action thriller kind of a book rather than something that broods, because I just want it to be that. That's what I want this book to be. It would be more like Outbreak, more fast paced, more squad, more craziness. So yeah, mix some cosmic horror in there, and we're all good to go. That's what I want to get out there. Ooh, typical price to commission a cover for a novel or an ebook. How high is up?
It's going up, depending on the people that are really popular.
It can also depend on whether you want a painted cover or something done digitally. The pulp adventures that I were talking about, I get custom painted covers, a full, front and back wrap. She does an amazing job. And I don't know what she's charging other people. I've been doing business with her for a long time. So for me, it's 500-ish. Might be a little bit more, but she's also, I don't know where she is in the range because she's worked for like a lot of gaming companies, some of the big properties. But yeah, you can get, if you're lucky, a really good pre-made digitally done cover if it fits your genre, sometimes as low as $50-$60.
Rather generic one.
Yeah, some of these really talented, like some of the sci-fi people, your Dean Sumeds, people like that, you might pay several hundred. So it just depends on what you need, what your genre is, what you're looking for. but you can get professional standard covers that are quite affordable and then build up to getting the more expensive stuff. I think it can be difficult in fantasy sometimes because there are certain reader expectations, and that can be tough to.
Yeah, epic fantasy. There's a lot of preconceived, I think anyway, cover art. I think there's a perception of that what that should be. You can't go too crazy with it outside those bounds or it's going to hurt you.
In science fiction, one of the big name cover people is Tom Edwards, and I heard somebody talking about him. I've seen his cover work. It's great cover work, but you pay for that premium. So it can be like $1,000. It can be more depending on what you're looking for.
And you may need 2 or 3 months lead time.
And that's with any popular thing.
More than that, yeah.
You're going to have a lot of lead time because the situation has matured. Now things like popular narrators, popular cover artists, good editors, the lead time just keeps going up because they're popular for a reason.
Yeah.
You might
Fiverr has some affordable cover artists too. I think that's only on Fiverr Plus though. Because I think some of the
is that a thing? I had no idea that there was a Fiverr Plus.
That absolutely is a thing. A woman who makes what does she make? Thumbnails for YouTube videos. She's making something like $20,000 a month.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wait a minute. Thumbnails for videos.
For YouTube videos.
Is that? What?
Well,
it's
okay.
The image you see first when a video loads but hasn't started playing yet.
Yeah, it's a cover.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty lucrative for that.
For instance, I'll give you cartoons or Delirious or Omrek or whomever. They have cartoonish avatars. So they have Toons has his own person who does nothing but his thumbnails. That's all she does, and she makes really good money. And she created the character, and she just carries it through all the way through, and she makes decent money on that. And he's not her only client. So it's basically like making a book cover every day because they're putting out episodes every day. So it's kind of nuts. But
okay, fair warning, I could vanish at any moment. My battery is dying, and I use this used laptop that I dearly, dearly love, but I've ordered 3 different replacement cords and none of them work. So I'm still with the original, and I have to jiggle it. Sometimes it'll charge. So just letting you know, I might be going.
Let's go ahead and close it up then. Go ahead, since you're our guest today, tell everyone where they can find you, David.
Sure. You can find me at davidwoodweb.com or on Facebook. I think it's David Wood Books or David Wood Web on Twitter, although I don't really do much on there. And can I show you my awesome office wall my daughter did before we go?
Please do.
So long as your battery doesn't run out, yeah.
Yes. My daughter decided to give me an Indiana Jones theme to this one wall. Okay, that's my adventure movie themed wall.
Wow.
Over here, she gave it like a stone texture, and she repurposed some of my little artifacts and things. And so,
wow, that's awesome.
Indiana Jones wall, and then of course I keep my Indiana Jones books and things down there. So yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So I'm excited about it.
Terry's already got awesome. Terry's just going to continue to NASA out his particular office.
I don't think so. It's just, what I've got is what I've got. But thanks for joining us for episode 600, David. We really appreciate you totally derailing us at every turn because that's what you do.
I have nothing else to offer, so I might as well be a distraction. Just like my marriage.
Oh, we were not going to talk about
you must almost be 50 or 50.
we weren't going to talk about your sex life, but since we're there.
Hey, family.
It's a short conversation. On multiple levels.
Oh.
I can show you if you need to.
Oh, man.
You missed me.
That joke,
you know it.
That joke was a little bit premature. I'm just going to say.
Oh, my God.
No, at my age, there's no premature. Getting there at all is the challenge. Oh, yeah, I think it might be time to go.
I think it may be time to go ahead and.
Well, if you would like to wish us a happy 600th episode, you can send an email to show at DebRobotSociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley. You can find us on Facebook at the listeners of the Deb Robot Society Facebook group. We have to thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 14,000 bazillion episodes of the Deb Robot Society available for your ear holes. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast to see our ugly mugs and too goddamn many cats for the fucking world to deal with. If you want to support the show, and God only knows why you would, you can find us at patreon.com/DRS podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive live shows, which this one is not, because we wanted to invite all you crazy people on, and mostly unedited episodes. And if you contribute at the $10 level because you're crazy, you get your name read. So we're going to read the names. And our $10 patrons are Summer Wilson, Tony L. Joy, Andrew Smallwood, Veronica Jaguar, Rick Shaw, Lisa Slack, Chris Winder, and Isabel Cushy. Thank you to all of our patrons for making this show possible.
We wouldn't have made it to 600 episodes without you listening.
Shit. And we also would not have gotten to episode 600 without Corpse Coffee. Whoops. So if you'd like to support the show and make sure Terry and I get caffeinated, go to corpsecoffee.com. Check out the webcomic, their webcomic, boutique teas, and coffee, and tell them Terry and Paul sent you. Go to corpsecoffee.com and get you dead in a cup. There we go.
Free tentacle with every purchase.
No. I can't make that promise.
You know, the tentacle comes up and stirs the coffee.
Okay,
So
you sickos out there, I expect to see or get sent a tentacle for stirring coffee. I don't know where such a thing might exist, but somebody needs to get that. Just saying.
Right. On it.
Thanks
again, guys.
Yes, thank you very much. With that, we are out of here, folks. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us, and thank you for helping us get here to 600. We don't know why we're still here, but we are.
Here's looking forward to episode 1200.
Oh my fucking God. With that, I'm going to end the show. Bye. Oh yeah, I have a new book out. Go get it.